Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, Blue Nose Trading. My name is Tori Solis, and today we are going to follow the journey of these two pots from just a ball of clay into the throwing and trimming, surface decorating. We're going to bisque fire them, and then we're going to glaze them and see how these bonsai pots are made. I did the video in real time, so it's not sped up except for in a couple areas where I was definitely just fussing with the feet for like a long time. Then I sped it up in those areas for you guys, but for the most part it's real time, real life narrative. So I live in a noisy house with a bird in a noisy neighborhood, and that happens, fair warning. So yeah, let's get to it and see how these pots get made in the long detailed video that everybody needed. I'm going to need to weigh out my clay and then wedge it on the board here. My wheel right now is a Shimpo Spire, and it's a super weenie. And some point I'm going to be getting a new wheel, but that's a story for another day as to why that hasn't happened yet. It'll be a great story, don't you worry. So I'm going to weigh out about 2 pounds for a nice little, about 5-inch show-hand pot. My wire. And I throw bigger, but my wheel, it can't do it. It just can't. I've tried, trust me, I've tried. There we go. Right at 2 pounds. Cover this stuff back up. This clay. Just gonna get the clay particles moving since it's been in like a brick form sitting in that bag for who knows how long. Hey, could you sit? Why are you spinning around making a video? Hey. Okay. So we're gonna wedge this clay until it's wedged. And Pepita's gonna give you her commentary on my job of wedging it. This is ram's horn wedging, the only wedging that I know how to do. Never learned how to do the spiral wedge, but this works. So far it's been fine. And then I just wedge it till it feels right. Sorry, not more helpful. Starting to feel right here. So get this all wrapped up in the ball to prevent air, and then get it more into the shape of something round. Alright, and then that's ready for me to throw now. Alright, so I got my wheel here, and I got my ball of clay, and I'm just gonna put it on the wheel, push it down, and then we are going to center it. Good amount of water, but not too much. Took a little off there. Applying pressure from this side coming in, and then this side going down. If I start to get resistance, I need just a little bit more water. Right. Now that I have the clay centered, I'm going to basically just take my fist and pull it out and flatten this out completely, like it's a plate, basically, make a plate. So sometimes I need a sponge and just a little water to keep it. Gently squeeze the sponge as I pull it out. And now that I have this more or less evenly pulled out, I'm going to wet and take a wooden rib and just smooth, compress, and flatten this out entirely. I'm going to slow it down a little bit. Bring this clay in, supporting it on the other side to start making my walls. Oops. Now I'm going to compress. Make sure this is nice and wet. And compress what I have here to make sure it's even. Slow it down even more. And now I'm going to pull these walls up. Nice special sponge for that. So after that first pull, I still have a lot of clay down here. So I'm going to pull that up too. Compress the rim, smooth out the interior. I'm going to add a little swirl on the inside here with my finger. And now I've got to go about shaping this. I like to make either straight walls or round walls. So the first one we're going to do here is going to, we'll do the round ones. So to get this one round, I'm going to just collar in just a little bit up here, very carefully. Okay, slow it down. And pull these out, just shaping here, applying pressure from the inside to create a nice feminine round out here. Slow it down. Clean up the water from the inside, just a little bit in there. Compress and shape this rim. Come in here with this rib and we're going to take off a bit of the excess on the bottom so there's a clean place to cut and start trimming. Just the foam out there. Alright, and then that will be one of our feminine pots whenever we come back to trimming it. So we're going to use our cut off wire here. cut now. Evenly, we're keeping downward pressure. That's the first one. In throwing this pot, this is 2 pounds of clay on the wheel. I'm going to center it, and I'm going to try to make something masculine. So it will be a round shape, but I'm going to make straight edged walls with a hard edge at the bottom as well. And for me, it's one of my more masculine designs. Maybe if not completely masculine and rectangular, it's at least a little more ambiguous. So there's that one, the more masculine, straight-edged form. This next one is a little bit different. It's something I'm trying. Might not even make the video, but we'll see. I want to throw a cascade style pot that is super heavy on the bottom so that it holds everything in. And this pot might get a little weird because the clay from that I threw on this bat last was stuck. That's okay. I can live with a few random speckles. This one, I do want to make sure that it's going to be about 6 inches tall and 6 inches wide. And I want the bottom to be really thick on purpose, because since this is going to be a cascade style pot where I'm intending for a tree to be hanging out of it, I want the bottom to be really heavy to add security to the display. Like an air bubble. There it is. So I'm just gonna smooth this out. It's not really compressed. It's got some air in it. This one's going to be heavy on the bottom, and that is going to help support the tree. This is planning to be a cascade style pot. I'm hoping that it's going to come out just about as tall as it is wide and be somewhat of a round, symmetrical form. Now that I've thrown all these pots, we have to let them dry. So we're going to set up an appropriate drying area for everybody. Now we have our 3 pots all side by side. We have the feminine pot that we threw. It's going to be more round. This is the one that's going to be thick on the bottom. It's going to be a cascade style pot for a bonsai tree. And then this is the more masculine style pot. It's going to have harder edges. These are all pre-refinement basically. They've got to dry up a little bit before I can flip them, trim them, put the holes in them, and get them really well refined. When I'm drying pots like this, I want them to dry evenly. A lot of people use plastic. I don't really like the way that it builds up water and drips and makes wet spots everywhere and sticks to things. So what I like to do is I have these fabric scraps like that I got from the craft section of Walmart. If I knew how to use a sewing machine, I could actually hem them and they would be better. I'm sure any kind of fabric scraps will do, but the fabric kind of breathes while also keeping the moisture in. And if I want this to sit for a little bit longer, I will wrap this in plastic. I don't really want to do that today, so I'm just going to leave them with the fabric draped over them to dry off a little slowly. And then whenever they are ready, I will come back and trim and refine those pots. Alright, now that these pots have finally dried, we can trim them. So we'll just start here by getting this pot centered on the wheel. Now that I have this pot centered, I'm going to grab clay and I'm just going to make little nuggets to hold this pot down so that it doesn't fly off while we're trimming it. This is the feminine round pot, so I'm going to do a little bit of adjustment to the bottom here, shaping, and I'm going to use my Mud Tools trim tool. This is my favorite trim tool. There's no right or wrong ones, this is just the one I like. So I'm going to go pretty fast here. And just start this extra foil. Smooth off the side. Now that I've fixed the outer profile the way that I want it to be here, I'm going to trim in the foot just a little bit to add some drainage. So smooth this out in case there was any kind of variation from when I cut it off the bat. Just make sure I'm going to smooth out this raised profile here because this is where I'm going to attach feet. And I just like to kind of come in, so smooth this out with my finger from the center. I have a couple different styles that I like to do. So I'll start with just the first one. For this one, I get the wheel kind of going at a medium-ish speed. And then I start in the center and I dig in really deep. And I just pull a deep spiral out to the edge here. And I really like this because whenever I add the drainage holes to it, it has grooves that when you're watering, your water can go into these grooves instead of having tension and being stuck on the inside of the pot. So it just drains better, doesn't hold as much water. That's my theory anyway. It makes sense to me on paper. That's why I do it, but I don't know, I probably should test it. And I'm going to smooth this out so that it's not sharp, because I want the grooves, but they don't have to be as sharp as the tool edge makes them. So now I have a nice spiral on the bottom, and that's all of the trimming that I'm going to do for this pot. So I'll take these off, make sure my wheel is off so we don't send it flying across the living room. That'd be bad. And so I'm going to flip it over and just kind of check it. Make sure that everything is, you know, not nicked or how the profile looks, and yeah, that's what I'm going for here. So now I'm going to put the drainage holes in it, and I haven't really completely decided if I like doing this from the top or the bottom. There's pros and cons to each, but this time I'm going to do it from the top. So I'm going to pick a big hole for my center hole. I'm going to get it as center as I can, and I'm going to just push it straight through and give it a twist. Put my 2 fingers on the outside to help prevent from warping and pull it right out. And then I'm just going to pop that out. Makes a cute little spiral. Should make a little button. Yeah, well, and then I just get kind of like the next size down. And I'm going to line these up with this flat rib here. So I'm just going to kind of make a mark. Just to kind of keep it. So now I'm going to side here. I do want to make sure that there's ample drainage, but also, I mean, for my design, these holes just look really cool. In my opinion, I like this idea, this style, my style. And I'm gonna get a little one here. Just gonna there at the edge. And I'm gonna use this tool to pop this up. Another one. And then this is kind of where I was stopping with my holes before because I like the design, but I've been deciding that for functionality's sake with these pots, just so that there's more room for wires to hold trees in, I'm going to add holes up and down as well with a really tiny one. So it's like additional drainage. It'll prevent it from getting any dead spots. And also it gives it options for how you want to wire in your piece if you need to do so. gonna go in here, and I like to kind of reaffirm these holes, like just to compress the edges with my pin tool so that it's less likely to have any cracking. Just compress these. Oh no. Okay, just rub that out. Sometimes we boop the clay. That's normal. And if it's not, then you are just better than me. And that's okay. And my bird is screaming right now, so I'm sorry about that. I can't really do anything about it. It's cold, so she can't hang out on the porch and have a Sunday. Okay. So now that I've got the inside all worked out, flip it over, and so this is now what the bottom looks like. Move some of this stuff out. This is just from where the tool went through, and it smushed up some clay, but just gonna smooth it out. Mostly I just don't want any sharp edges that would make the handling this a hazard. And also I don't want those loop thingies to change my drainage plans that I have for my spiral here. Okay. Reshape these holes real carefully with my pin tool. And now I'm going to use my name stamp, just get that on there. With this, I like to grab this little plastic lid that's the lid for the hole thingies. I should probably maybe make something better, but this works right now, so it's fine. I'm gonna put the plastic lid part on the inside, and I'm gonna support that with my finger, and I'm gonna flip it over. I'm gonna use these other fingers to keep an even support so that I don't push in this clay. And I'm gonna carefully flip it over, and then I'm going to put my name stamp right here with just enough gentle opposite pressure on that plastic that doesn't cause this to be a potential area for cracking. I'll just take that out there, smooth out all the nonsense. And then we're going to go back to the back side. Whoop, flip it. Signature. Got some random piece of brown clay. Take that off of there. I work with a lot of different clay bodies, so the potential for cross-contamination is high. Somewhat inevitable, almost. Now I'm going to put the feet on this pot, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the clay, usually the clay that I used to make the lugs, and I'm just going to break out 3 pieces that are around the same size. Okay. I don't know if I want them bigger or not, but we'll start with this. So I'm going to roll them all into a ball. One ball. 2. And at this point I just kind of look at the size of things and I'm like, does it need to be bigger or smaller? And I think I want these to be bigger. So I'm just going to come through and add more clay, about the same amount to each one. And then roll it into a new ball. it together. Okay, that's better. Proportionally, I like that better. Okay, so these are gonna be the feet. They're not gonna look exactly like this unless that's how I'm feeling, but I'm not, so I just have to kind of figure out where I want them. I like to have one here above where I put my name in the hole, and then I kind of like to have one these down here. The only thing I worry is that this one is in the way. I don't want it to be in the way. I actually do think I kind of like this high lifted look of leaving them somewhat round. I normally kind of flatten them out. We're making a couple other pots, and yeah, we'll flatten out that other round one, but I think this one might. Trying to look at it. Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna do flatten these out a little bit though. So I'm going to wood rib's good, and just kind of squish this a little bit. Ah! Don't drop it. And I bumped it up. It's fine, just fix it. Okay. Excuse me, I think we might have to Gosh, I'm gonna drop it every time. No. I'll see if I can not drop it this time. I promises. Great, so these are gonna be the feet, and I've decided I don't want that foot to be in the way of that hole, so I'm gonna put it here. Slightly, everything's gonna just be slightly tilted around to keep that. Do another one? Maybe we give it another foot. Usually I do 3, but I'm also experimenting with these new holes, and I don't really want it to be in the way of that wire hole. I don't know how I feel about the number 4 artistically, but I guess. No. That's much better. We're just gonna do that. Oh, I gotta grab my slip. Ugh. Okay. How do you get my slip? So now I'm going to score. I'm just lightly refining the shape of these. I'm just ever so slightly adjusting the profile of the feet and how I want them to look as they touch the surface of whatever they're sitting on. Stand, bench, whatever. This is also helping to really form a connection between that slip and these feet. I'm gonna go through and just are pretty much done with this one. Let's see if I can get a good angle on it. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and just compress each foot a little bit from the top as well. My finger. Be very careful where you apply the pressure, or you can just dent and warp your whole bottom end, and that's not great. It's functional, but it's not the goal. All right. I'm gonna clean up these feet too. Look at that. So I'm gonna just get a regular little paintbrush and some water. Gonna support from the inside carefully, and I'm just gonna brush around them to smooth out that slip from where we made that connection. This next one is the more straight-edged masculine form. So I'm going to trim this one a little bit different. Instead of doing the round off bottom, I'm going to make this sharp. And the sharpness of this is going to be what lifts this. So I'm not going to give it feet, and I'm going to do the bottom a little bit differently. So first we're going to go ahead and center this one on my own. When I'm smoothing out these lines, I think it's important to note that I'm not adding pressure, because that would maybe dent in the bottom. It's just a touch. Okay, so that's center. Grab some clay. Trim tool, all this junky clay off of it. That could have happened when I put these down, and I might have pushed it a little bit. I may or may not be getting a grip and grip, which will prevent that from happening. Plus, this is just a hassle. And this clay, these lugs, they get really tired of me rolling them up. I'm gonna check this before we just get into it. It doesn't feel center at all. That feels a lot better. Just check it. Yes, there we have it. Now I'm going to continue to bring this, create this sharp edge here that's going to give this pot lift. got the, yes. Although I think I want that to be sharper still. So, gonna come here. And then we're just gonna smooth and fix up this bottom. I consider the bottom of the pot to be very important. I think it's what we do with the places and things in our life that people don't necessarily see all the time that really speaks to who we are. Just the little details of making sure this is nice and tidy and equally representative of the entire piece, not just a forgotten cut off. Okay, now that I've got the bottom all how I want it, it's all smooth, I am going to create a drain spiral. We'll call it the drain spiral. Now for this one, I'm going to dig in a little deeper. Here. See what I got here to work with. I think we can go in just a little deeper. Playing a dangerous game. If we break through the bottom, we ruin the pot, but the deeper I can go right here, the better I can get overall for drainage. Like for the flow of drainage. I'm going to smooth this out. Sharpen that up. Come in here and gently sponge that soft. Just the tiniest bit of moisture. Sponge that soft. Make sure this is all soft. And the back of my finger, which I told myself I would stop using as a tool, but I lied. Okay. So that finishes up this portion of it. Now we're gonna go in. Actually, I want to check the sides because I might need to trim up the sides of this one to keep the, like I might need to rib the sides of this one gently. Smooth it out real good. So I'm gonna just flip it real quick. And it doesn't really necessarily have to be perfectly centered for this. It It would feel better if it did, but like, it's meh. It's okay. So I'm just gonna make these real thin because I kind of want them to go underneath where that lip was so that I can reach the entire surface that's exposed on the outside of this pot. So making them a little more flat. Just shove them over there. That way I can touch and manipulate the entire outer surface here. Perfect. So now I'm going to go with my middle rib and I'm just gonna, well, you know, I might add a little moisture first, just to make this easier. So a little moisture, just the tiniest bit of moisture. I'm not getting it wet, it's just damp. I'm gonna come in here and just get that surface. Come up here, so slowly, and I'm just going to get this surface too. It's okay that it's not centered because I'm not taking off a lot, I'm just smoothing the surface. If I was maneuvering or moving this clay around, it would be a problem that it wasn't centered. So now that I've got the surface that I want for these, I'm going to just smooth out some of these bits of clay that kind of flaked up in some of these rougher connection points. Super gently. Compress the rim. We love a compressed rim. I think this is about where I want it to be as far as the trimming and surface goes. So now I can take off the slugs. Oops. No. Why am I like this? Okay. Now I'm going to put the holes in the bottom. So grab my big one first. Get it the center as I can. thinking this time, if I make these extra wire holes closer to the center, it won't give me so many problems later when I'm trying to put the feet on. Even though I guess I wasn't really planning on putting feet on this one. Maybe I will. We'll see. You never know. I never know. That's the fun of it. I have a general idea, but I'm open to, you know, discussion with my inner dialogue when it comes to what I'm making. No point in being rigid. It's not how you figure stuff out. And we're gonna flip. Oof. Looks like I got some junk on the bottom of my thing here when I finished the sides. Making sure this transition is nice. Go here and compress these holes. Okay. Now for this one, I am going to create a drainage that goes all the way across. So I'm just going to put my loop tool here, pull in to this hole, and then I'm going to fix that out. Just basically have to carve a path, carefully carve a path between them all. Very important not to go too deep. This carved design is the most prone to failure because of the differences here and because of the pressure that I'm going to be putting on these now thinner areas. This is a direct route of drainage out, and I'm doing this because I don't necessarily want feet on this one, because I want the lift to come from this lift that we put here at this angle. So it's kind of like all one big foot if you want to think about it in terms of feet, like feet on a pot. And now I'm gonna decompress the holes because, you know, we just traumatized them with the carving tool. Very gently but firm, consistent pressure evenly around the outsides, or you won't have circles anymore, which I do sometimes. Alright, now I'm gonna grab a little paintbrush for this one. This is a maybe that'll work. We'll see. So I'm just gonna paint with some water. Bag in the water down here. Okay. And just kind of smooth out these edges. I do this with my fingers sometimes, but with this one, my fingers are kind of chunky and may apply too much pressure, and this is a pressure sensitive area now that I've cut in, and it's thinner in the middle. So we want to make sure that we're reinforcing that area with how with the direction that I press and move the clay. very gentle here. Okay, that is about that for this bottom. So now I'm going to put my stamp on it. And I think I can put it right here. This is a really risky place to put it, but there aren't really any good areas and it would look the best right there. So extra very carefully, we're going to try to make that happen. Good. And this is the main line of drainage right here. That's what this deep ring was for, and that's why we needed to make it so deep. Now, touch up a few things here, there. I'm sure something's wrong with it still. We can only merely pursue perfection. All right. So here's this one. It's got its own lift here. And then the drainage is there. You can see through to where that's at. And this is a masculine style, or at least the best I can do masculine on a perfect round. This next pot, I left a lot of weight down here at the bottom of this pot. Like, this pot is heavy. I did that on purpose because I want to make this pot a cascade style pot. So ideally, let me see how I did. So this pot is currently right at around 5 inches wide and about 4 inches tall. The size that we have for this cascade style pot. Now it's heavy at the bottom because I want it to have weight without having to add extra weights to hold down the tree that's going to be coming out of it and kind of pulling downwards. So the idea is to have that extra weight there to keep the pot on the table stand bench. So for this one, I'm also not going to be giving it feet. I'm going to be trimming it like the last one to add stability. I want this to be a very simple, stable, probably masculine more feminine. I mean, it's straight edged for me, so the straight edged rounds for me feel more masculine just within my body of work, but let's consider gender a spectrum. You know, it's gonna lean a little masculine, but it's still gonna have a little bit of femininity to it because it is a round pot. The greater nuances of gender in trees and pots aside, we've got to get this pot centered on this wheel. Nice. Just a teeny bit. Clay lugs, stick it there. My favorite part is how this wheel has been going, and we haven't been on the bat pins. I don't even know. We might not be center now because I've just been. Yeah, no, we are not. Okay, well. Oh, well. That happened. It was center when we were doing this part. It's just that once I realized that we weren't on the bat pins and I moved it over to the bat pins, it wasn't center anymore. But this is way safer. Gosh. Alright. Centered and on the back pins this time. Oh, whoops. Coming along nicely though. I love it when the pot is meeting the vision and then also showing me the next vision as I'm going. It's just continuous evolution of pots. Right. since this pot does have so much weight at the bottom, it gives us the opportunity to make a really nice lift. This thing is going to look like it's floating. And that is pretty magical. Smooth this out. Now we're going to finish up the bottom of this one. So first we're just going to go over it once. Give it once over to make sure that it's even. And then for this one, I'm not going to do a spiral and do a different one that I kind of like, where I'm going to dig in really deep 3 times because I can with this tool, maybe 2 times, but I can do that with this bottom because we have all this weight. So it opens up the opportunity to do that. Now I am going to leave about this much of a ring here so that it has a bit of a foot for stability to hold it down. Right here, I'm going to dig in really deep. I just want to actually bring this all down a couple levels so that it's lower than the outer ring here. So just follow this down a bit. Now, back to making this deep now that it's all trimmed down a bit. I'm going to have a different drainage hole design to keep the drainage effective within the amount of space that it's got down here in the drain. That's a sturdy pot. So I'm going to start with just one big hole, one really big hole, bigger than the last few, right in the middle. But this is a deep, like I said, there's a lot of weight down here. There we go. Gosh. Pot bottom is thick on purpose. It is a 1/2 inch thick, and that adds a good amount of weight to the bottom of this. To use for cascade, semi-cascade styled trees that need that kind of support. Alright, now I don't normally come in from the bottom this way, but this time I'm going to with the hole tools, the hole punchers, because this bottom is so thick that the risk of warping it by going this direction is a lot lower, and I'll be able to see a little bit better how I want it proportioned to this inner drainage ring, which is a lot different than what the inside of this pot looks like since we have this foot. these ones, I'm gonna go ahead and use a medium size. And I'm just gonna go directly above it. For this one, I'm also going to carve out Now for this one, I don't have to go all the way in because I've lowered this whole thing. And I just don't want to add any more pressure on holes when I don't really have to. kind of giving this a little bit of direction with my pinky so that the water just goes naturally. It doesn't have any points where it gets stopped. Just nice smooth transitions for the flow. Now I'm just going to get my stamp on here. For this one, I don't need to support the back because it's so thick. I can just kind of squish it in there. Alright, the last thing to do, well, not the last thing because I want to give this one some texture. The next thing to do here is to flip it over, make sure these inner holes aren't a mess. They look pretty good. We're still going to go in here and lightly sponge them. The inside looks good, the bottom looks good. Now I'm going to get this more or less center so that I can add some texture on the outside. And again, since I have this big lift, I can put my little squishy clay nuggets underneath it. So that I can access the entire exterior surface of this pot with my texture basalt. I've really been enjoying using this Zyme, sorry, I don't know how to say that, MR9 to make texture recently. Alright, so the texture's on there. Now I'm going to go through and just kind of refine. Nitpick if you will. I only want the texture there that I meant to be there. Go ahead and check out everything else. should we double check this rim? Since I've sat it on the rim a couple times, it's good to just kind of put the life back into it. Alright, so got all that stuff. Texture is on. Bottom is done. And now this one is a nice cascade style pot with some texture. And it's got really good lift and the drainage goes all the way through. So, well, get down there. Yeah, like that. Dig it. So now these have got to go and dry, especially this one, probably forever, especially since it's winter and cold still and humid, and it's gonna take forever to dry. That's the summary. And then when they're done drying, within a reasonable amount of dryness, I will put them in the kiln. I will fire them to cone 04 for their bisque, and then we will glaze them. And then we will fire them again to cone 6 for their final firing, and then we'll see what happened and how it came out. Sad to report that the masculine pot has died during drying. In retrospect, I'm pretty sure it was because I put too much water there while I was making those holes, so into the reclaim bucket with him. By the time that these got bisqued and I got around to glazing, I had completely forsaken talking while I did things, so we are in voiceover mode now, and there should be a lot more peace and a lot less bird. These are my test tile plans here. Old Forge floating chrome over cream breaking rust. And then for this one here, I'm planning to use a combination of peacock green over cream breaking rust. And we're going to fire both of these to probably cone 5, because I've got some stuff that has to be cone 5. So this is my cream breaking rust. It's one of my foundation glazes. I'm just going to stir it up really well with my whisk before I dump these in here for its first coat. Probably going to have to do 2 coats because I kind of mixed this cream breaking rust a little thin. It's got a lot of water in it right now, and until some of that evaporates off, it is what it is. Doing about a 5-second dip because I know it's so thin. Dip in this other one here. Both of these have the same foundation glaze. For the second coat that I'm going to be putting on top of these, I'm going to have to brush it on. I like brushing on glazes. Some people do, some people don't, but I find it nice. I don't always love the effect. I like to get to where I can sometimes do it, but I like to do it more consistently where I brush and it doesn't look as much like brushing unless I want it to look like brushing. It's all about what I'm trying to do for me. How much was this? This is the bean dog getting up in my business like she does. Now both of these have been dipped in cream breaking rust. Just clean up a little bit here. little closer look here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the sponge wet, and I'm going to take these pots that I dipped in cream breaking rust, and I'm going to wipe out some of the bottom glaze. This is just a texture preference. I just think that the insides of pots personally fare a little bit better for planters functional wise if the inside is more or less unglazed, especially on the bottom. I guess if your clay is fully vitrified, it shouldn't matter, but it's just a thing. Maybe it's just a texture thing. Maybe I just like it to be not shiny and smooth down there. Either way, we're wiping it back for functional reasons that I might have made up, or just because I like it better this way. I'm also going to flip this over and clean the glaze off the feet that drip down there. I want to make sure that is nice and tidy. I'm going to start on this one also by cleaning out the very bottom so that there's no glaze at the bottom of the pot. I'm just doing this with a nice wet sponge. Next I'm going to flip this pot over and make sure that the bottom of it is tidy and that none of the glaze is running down onto the foot or past the glaze line that I've decided. I'm going to do chrome over cream breaking rust, floating chrome. This is not the right glaze, so I'm going to go get the right glaze. Now I have the right glaze. First thing I'm going to need to do is get the jar open using all of my big kid strength. Lockdown big kid strength. Okay. Once I've managed to defeat the jar, I'm going to have to mix this glaze up really well. I've got this little stick. I like it because I can see that I've gotten all of the glaze out of the very bottom, and I can feel if the glaze has started to compact down there while I'm with this stick. Now that the glaze has sufficiently been mixed, we're going to actually put some of it onto this pot. I'm using a hake brush. These are my favorite kind of brushes to brush glaze on with. I'm not entirely sure what they're made of, but the handle is made of like bamboo. So I'm just going to brush on like 2 coats probably of this floating chrome over this cream breaking rust. It dries really fast, like almost instantly as it's touching. I could modify this, but it's fine. If you did want it to dry slower while you're brushing, you can use some more CMC gum solution, which I have a video on how to make CMC gum solution. What I didn't realize here is that when I was applying this, I was actually mixing these two glazes together on this pot as opposed to laying the chrome over the cream breaking rust. More on this later. Just clean up my banding wheel here and I'll go get the other glaze ready. I like to work clean. I try to keep my space as clean as possible and clean as I go. I feel like I have a better energy when my space is tidy and organized. This is different for everybody, but for me, I have to keep it tidy. This next one I'm going to use is the peacock green over the cream breaking rust. With these deeper jars, I have this weird crazy whisk thing that works pretty well and I can still feel the bottom with it. So I'm just going to mix this one up super well, just like I did the last one, using my metal whisk. Just like I painted the last pot, I'm going to use my hockey brush to paint the glaze onto this pot. This glaze is a little bit thicker, which is fine. I'm used to it being like that. Just cleaning out this brush real well in the water over here. Since I'm not going from an iron to something without iron, it's not super imperative that it's rinsed in the sink. I'm going to start at the upper rim because this glaze dries really fast and it goes on really thick. These taller jars aren't the best. It's harder to get my brush into it. I kind of prefer the lower ones to these taller pasta jars. I'm just laying this over with some variation. I think it might run just a little bit, so I want to give it room to run and to play on this pot as it works its way down in the kiln during the firing. I'm going to do 2 coats of this peacock green over the cream breaking rust. I'm applying the glaze in alternating patterns. So first I'll go up and down, and then I'll go from basically horizontally and vertically as opposing for each layer to get a good even coverage. And reapplying just a little bit more to the rim. It's hard to make sure that there's enough applied to the rim, so I always try to double check. At least depending on what look I'm trying to get with the glaze. Some look better when they're applied really thin to the rim, but this one doesn't look as great when it's super thin. At least not for what I'm trying to do here. Well, that looks pretty good for this one. I'm going to tidy up this space and eventually get these into the kiln, and I'll see you then. Fresh out of the pot, these are not exactly what I was expecting. This is closer to what I was expecting. This is the peacock green over cream breaking rust on white stoneware. The cream breaking rust on the inside walls performed as expected. On the outside, it's very southwest, a little more southwest than I was expecting, but I do love it. This is not what we were trying to do. So I forgot that my cream breaking rust has tin in it, and I applied this floating chrome on top of it, and if I put this application on just right, so where the floating chrome isn't mixing with the tin, it looks completely different. But when chrome and tin mix together, they make pink. So now I have a pink cascade pot, which is kind of funny. I'm going to give you guys a quick peek on all the pots that I've done so far as of making this video for the spring update. If you'd like to see my updates, you can check out my website, Blue Nose Trading. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, you'll get a weekly art video. Blue Nose Trading is the channel, of course. And if you'd like to help support my channel, you can find me at patreon.com/, you guessed it, Blue Nose Trading. Remember that you have great ideas. Go water your trees if they need it, and water yourself, and I will see you next week.